Hi everyone. This is going to be a video particularly for emotional projectors, but it's going to be useful for anyone, regardless if you have a defined emotional center or an undefined emotional center. However, I am going to really focus on the defined emotional today and sort of speak from my own experience as a defined emotional and give you guys a tool to help you regulate, understand your emotions, and also, I guess, like a manifestation hack, basically. So, I guess to start off, when I first found out I was a defined emotional, of course, there was some resonance and understanding there, but I think as time went on, I really took it to heart. And basically, what is told for defined emotionals is that they're naturally going on this wave, this emotional wave that goes up and down. And when it comes to making decisions, they need to weight their emotional wave. They need to give themselves time so they can arrive in that place of clarity to make a decision. Now, something that I don't think is talked about enough in the human design world is when Ra was talking about the emotional waves, the way he would describe them, um, he actually has explicitly said, I remember in one video, it's titled like the waves of chaos, and he explicitly said, like, these are how the waves operate in the not self. What I think he means by that is, when you're unaware or when you're like susceptible to conditioning, when you're taking in conditioning and not knowing you're being conditioned, then your emotional wave is very extreme. It's very up and down, up and down, up and down. And like not in a good way. I mean, I can talk from personal experience. I do not like being on an emotional roller coaster. And the more I sort of fed into these negative emotional states and told myself, well, this is just my wave, whatever. I'm just a defined emotional, I'm just moody. That actually was a bullshit story I was telling myself. And something else that I do not think is discussed enough is that the mind and emotions are so interlinked, so intertwined. You actually cannot separate the mind from the emotions. And, on a non-human design level, we know we are an integrated being where there's like biochemical feedback. Not going to explain this scientifically, just my own interpretation, but our body is constantly having these like physical responses and chemical responses. And have you ever noticed how certain thoughts can produce an emotional response in the body? And, having an emotional response in the body can produce certain thoughts. Like the two are interlinked. It's, I would say, impossible to be like having negative thoughts and feeling good in your body, or to be feeling really shit in your body and to be having positive thoughts. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed as well, I've noticed for myself when I am sick, when I'm run down, my thought patterns tend to be a bit more pessimistic. They tend to be a bit more negative. And I'm gonna get into it today when I talk about the tool, but I want to emphasize that there's no like right or wrong emotional state. I think that's the most important thing for all emotionals and just anyone who experiences emotions as a human, to realize there are no bad or wrong emotions. So I'm sharing this information because like I don't want you to think, oh no, I'm feeling a negative emotion. That's bad. How do I get myself out of that? We're not doing that. We're making space for our emotions and somatically processing our feelings. But we're also going a bit deeper and looking at like, okay, where is this feeling stemming from? Is it stemming from a belief I have about myself, a belief I have about the world? Is it stemming from something that someone said that's affecting me? Is it stemming from an external circumstance or condition that has happened or has not happened yet? You know, what is triggering the emotional response? And that's sort of like that's when you do want to get to the root or the core. Because if you're consistently feeling down, depressed, sad, there's a bigger question that needs to be addressed. And I am going to say this. This is what I believe now for defined emotionals, but I actually think a healthy defined emotional is actually very chill. It's very regulated. They're not going up and down. And I would say that the extreme downs, especially the extreme emotional reactions, is actually your authority signaling to you that something isn't right. Something is there that you need to address. You know, if you're having a huge emotional reaction in a relationship or from a job or, you know, from something that's happened, then yeah, you really have to look at, am I actually honoring my emotions right now? Am I honoring my truth? Because the emotional center is literally connected to truth. That's what it is. That's what it means to have emotional authority. What is my emotional truth? And that emotional truth is neutral, is, you know, I will agree and say like that emotional truth is kind of that clarity. But But the wave, the wave, yeah, I don't think we're meant to be on this very drastic emotional wave from day to day. So the tool I want to share with you guys today is an energetic tool, a manifestation tool, and it's quite popular, I would say. Maybe you have heard of it, but it's called the Emotional Guidance Scale. And this was a concept, I guess, or an idea that was brought forth by Abraham Hicks. If you know, you know. But basically, the Emotional Guidance Scale, it sort of categorizes emotions um, on a scale from like 1 to 20 or something. But the important thing is not actually the label of the emotions itself. I think it's the, how do I put it? Basically, the two emotions that this scale like separates is feeling bad and feeling good. Now, we have been taught from the moment that we are born how to feel bad. We're constantly told how to feel bad. We're constantly conditioned to feel bad. We even think that feeling bad is some sort of noble or righteous thing. It like sort of affirms to us some sense of like, I don't know how to put it. Like, okay, for example, for me, it's like when I was feeding into my self-deprecation and my view of the world being like, everything is shit, everything is going to shit. You know, LOL at me, I'm such a failure, I'm in my flop era. Like, there's something very addictive and seductive about that. But like literally those patterns were reinforcing that reality. And it's this weird masochistic, is that how you say it? Masochistic thing where it's like the pleasure of feeling bad or like everyone else feels bad around you and you're all sort of commiserating in your suffering. Like how good it feels to bitch and vent and complain. But like it's sort of this temporary fleeting feeling of um complaining, which you think is going to alleviate the feeling bad, alleviates a little bit, but it doesn't really address the problem. And what I think is like radical in this era is to prioritize feeling good. You know, we're told every day, like, this is happening in the world and this terrible atrocity is going on and you should care about this. And oh my God, inflation is crazy and the economy is falling apart and the government is fucked. Like, that is all conditioning and pressure trying to make you feel bad, trying to generate an emotional response in your body. And from the lens of the emotional guidance scale and this, concept put together by Abraham Hicks or channeled by Abraham Hicks, when you are feeling bad, you are pushing away everything that you desire. Like Abraham Hicks, like it's focused on the law of attraction. And I know the law of attraction is so overtold. Like it's everywhere. It's like even I roll my eyes of like, ugh, manifestation, gross. And then here I am being like, wait, this is so real. But okay, if you believe in the law of attraction, then we live in a universe that we attract like based on like. We attract who we are. We attract based on our frequency. So when you are feeling really bad and negative, like you are attracting an external reality or mirror to keep matching that to you. And I know this is true from my personal experience and experiment because I lived like this for like 5 years when I was really deep into waiting and honoring my wave and being a super, super radical projector. I like every day, I would say most days, like 80% of the time, like I did not feel good. I felt really like emotional and like I don't know, there was a part of me missing. Like I guess on the scale, which I'm going to bring up, but on the scale, I was definitely in fear and depression and like what is happening, chaos, confusion. I was, yeah, waking up consistently feeling bad. And I didn't realize that I was creating that reality for me, which again is so like, people don't want to hear it. I know it sucks to take responsibility for your life, but I didn't realize that I had to change my frequency to change my reality because I literally was stuck in Groundhog Day and just continuing to reinforce I feel bad and then seeing things in my reality that made me feel bad and just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. When I decided to tune into a different frequency, when I started feeling better, life started getting better. I know it sounds so simple, but truly it's like it's the opposite way around. You think that once your external reality reflects what you want, you're going to feel better. But actually, once you feel better, your external reality is going to reflect what you want. And I think the best part is it like because you're already feeling good, you're not attached to your external reality. So like I guess like I want to emphasize like the most, to me, the coolest part of this kind of energy work is like learning how to consistently feel good, right? Like this is how, I mean, I don't know what happens when we die. I don't know what happens, if we reincarnate or where we go, but I choose to remind myself like this is my one life. This is my life. How am I going to spend it? And am I going to spend it miserable and feeling bad about myself and feeling depressed? Or am I going to learn how to relax and let go and let in more joy and choose to be happy? And that's why I want to share this, especially for defined emotionals and emotional projectors, because I do feel like you have more control over your emotions than you might have been told or conditioned through human design. And again, we're not shaming our emotions, but instead we're using our emotions as guideposts, as signposts, you know? How we feel is giving us information all the time. And this is what it means to take responsibility for yourself, to take responsibility for how you feel, to take responsibility for your bitterness as a projector. You know, you're using that as neutral information. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the scale. Let's bring it up. Okay, so you should see the emotional guidance scale here. And on the right, well, I don't know if it's going to be mirrored on the recording, but on one side you have downward spiral, and that's where you see, feeling bad. So at the bottom we have, the worst feelings of depression and feeling like a victim and feeling powerless, having no, feeling like you don't have agency in your life. And I just have to say, when I was in the depths of no choice, which is a very common saying in human design, that was when I felt the most powerless. I was down there. And I was also feeling super insecure. I was feeling super jealous of other projectors who were successful, of other people who were quote unquote happy or, leading lives that were exciting or fun, or they had a lot of friends or success in their business. Like I was very, very jealous. So I really was hanging out down that bottom of the downward spiral. I hung out there for a long time. And honestly, yeah, a lot of days I was in boredom. I was in that, and boredom is really like the cusp, like neutral, but it's a little bit less than neutral, I want to say. And you don't have to get so particular about like, oh, I'm at like number 19 on the emotional guidance scale. Like it's just a guide. Like you don't have to like get so specific like that. Like you're gonna feel in your body when you're feeling bad. We all, because humans, we're naturally programmed to be like, okay, this is pain. This doesn't feel good, and this feels good. So when you're downward spiraling, you are again, controversial, but you are attracting a reality that is matching that downward spiral. And when you're really, really caught in the downward spiral, there's a lot of momentum and energy around it. And so it's really hard to pull yourself out. It's why you can be down in a really bad emotional place and it can keep you there for weeks. It can keep you there for weeks, and it's like, I have no idea. I do not remember what happiness or joy or any of those feelings feel like. That used to happen to me for several months, like every year. For all of my 20s, literally every year, I would have several months, if not half the year, where I was stuck in a downward spiral. So the thing is with the emotional guidance scale is we can't pull ourselves from depression or grief or fear to like joy because that is such a far leap, and you have a lot of momentum going around these like heavier emotions. You can't gaslight yourself into saying, no, I feel happy, I feel joy when you're having a physical response in your body to these dense emotions. And also, you're having a reality that reflects that back to you. Like, you're not going to make that jump. And so, I want you guys to have compassion for yourself if you find that you are on the downward spiral. First of all, you're going to have compassion for yourself. You're going to, you know, learn to be kind for yourself. And so when we're moving up this scale, ways to move up the scale. Number one way is to search for relief. And I'm going to put this in the description. There's a Substack called Miracle Zone, and she goes so deep into these concepts and she talks about relief a lot. That's like her bread and butter. So I'm going to link her article to relief below. But okay, so what happens when we're in these downward states is we feel like I have to fix it. I have to fix it. I have to change it. It actually creates more anxiety when we try to resist it, when we try to fight it and, try to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and I just gotta do it. I just gotta figure it out and find the discipline. Like that's actually creating more resistance and is probably going to prolong the feeling state that you're in. So when I talk about finding relief, we're really like we're finding we're holding more openness and softness around the emotion. And we're going to gently start reaching for better feeling thoughts or self-soothing through activities that make us feel better. Have you ever noticed that sometimes like you're feeling really frustrated, really overwhelmed, and you just need to like go for a walk or take a nap or do the dishes or call up a friend. Like do something that literally takes your mind off the problem. Like we think that we have to focus on the problem to fix it, but actually, like relief and ironically, the solutions to the problems are going to come when you're kind of in a state of relaxation, when you're kind of distracted. Like you ever notice when you're driving the car, you're doing the dishes, you're doing something that's kind of mindless, and you have, you know, epiphanies or ideas or something that's like, oh, right? Because you're not focused on the problem. So when we're finding relief, we are removing some of the emotional energy and momentum around that feeling or like the focus, right? Because often there's like a central focus of like what's creating that spiral. Um, so that's the first step. And reaching for better feeling thoughts. Again, we're not gaslighting ourselves into saying like everything's fine, I feel great, life is amazing. We're not doing that. We're not spiritual bypassing. Okay, so like for example, maybe you're feeling really bad right now. And you're feeling really confused. Maybe you're a girl in your 20s and you're like, I have nothing figured out. I have no money in my bank account. I am chronically single. I have no idea where I'm going. Maybe a thought that brings you relief is, you know, even though things kind of suck right now and I feel kind of lost and confused, I know I'm going to figure it out. I know that things are going to get better eventually. Or, you know, I know there's been a lot of other people who have been in their 20s and also were in the same place as me, and now they're doing really well. Or they, yeah, they have figured it out. You're searching for thoughts that feel like an exhale in your body. I can't tell you exactly what those thoughts are going to be, but you know, yeah, you're going to come up with thoughts that feel slightly better. And what happens is, say you're at the very bottom of like fear, grief, depression, powerlessness. Um, if you start thinking thoughts and then suddenly you're feeling jealous of someone, okay, so say like you're really depressed, you're like, I don't want to say I want to kill myself, but I can't get out of bed. I feel fucking awful. Okay. And then suddenly you're starting to feel jealous of a friend or of someone online, and you're like, ugh, I wish I had the life that they had. I wish I was on that European summer holiday. That's actually moving up the scale. That's actually an improvement in your feelings, or moving from jealousy to anger. Jealousy, oh my God, fuck that bitch who stole my man. Like, I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. As an example, something happened. I guess that is anger. But say you're moving from jealousy to anger. And you're like, wait, actually, I am really angry about this. Man, I am so angry about the way I was treated in this situation. And you're going to notice that reaching for anger actually feels better than being jealous. So, like, this is how you kind of climb your way up the scale. And depending where you are on the scale, it can happen very quickly. Or maybe it's going to take some time. Maybe it's going to take some time to undo the momentum. But we're really undoing the pattern and the focus on the problems. We're searching for relief. We're having compassion. We're opening, a big teaching from Abraham Hicks is allowing, which is basically the same as reducing resistance in human design. And, I'm not saying like allowing bullshit into your life or whatever, but I'm saying like around emotions, you're allowing the emotion to exist. You're not fighting it. And actually, by allowing it and searching for relief, maybe like, okay, for me, I find so much relief in doing a restorative yoga class or a meditation. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but I find relief in those practices. They make me feel a bit better, So I can't remember the last. I know I was on a train and it's kind of gone. Um, but where was I? Yeah, we're okay, allowing. Yeah, we're allowing these emotions to exist and we're not trying to fight it. Because basically, when it comes to calling in what you desire or what you want to experience in life, it really is about allowing it to come in. Like to realize that it already exists. It already exists in the quantum field. It's already orbiting around you. What you desire, what you want from life, is already orbiting around you. And it's waiting for you to get into the right frequency, the right feeling state, and suddenly it's going to materialize. It's going to be there. Doesn't mean we don't take action along the way, but I'll do another video on action, because it's not as like disciplined as you might think or associate. Because I know with action we can sometimes feel like, ugh, like self-help, discipline. I don't want to do it. I don't want to force. It's not that. Anyway, that's a whole side tangent. Um, but we are allowing and making space for our emotions, searching for relief, moving up the scale. And you'll notice that when you start to move into the upward spiral, that things almost get better and better. When you're in a good period of your life, do you notice how it's almost like many good things come at once? You get a new job, you find a new boyfriend, you know, a bunch of money comes in, or you find the dream apartment, or like, I know these are very like mundane sort of surface level examples, but good things tend to come in at once. It's a cluster. And we don't realize it's because we're in that feeling good state. And when we're in that feeling good state, reality starts to shift and mirror that back to us. And actually, when you're in the upward spiral, when you feel like you're in it, the only thing you really have to do is maintain it. You know? I personally feel like I have been upward spiraling for a couple of months, and I've gone down to maybe contentment or boredom, maybe pessimism or frustration, but I don't even know if I've gotten there. maybe some irritation, right? I've gotten to, a little bit on the downward scale, but now that I'm aware of my emotions, I know I'm like, oh, this is good feedback. This is information. I'm going to make space for this and I'm going to soothe, find relief, and focus on doing things I like. You know, as a projector, this is another whole video or another whole teaching that I will definitely share in here. But as a projector, what you focus on expands. And our aura is designed to focus. So your focus is your superpower. When you understand that, when you take responsibility for your focus, you have, so much more range and control. I don't even want to say control, but really you do like over your emotional landscape or over the things that you're calling in. That's why I feel so passionate about empowering projectors and empowering just, people in general through this information and like coming from, depression to actually feeling good because like that's generally what I've lived. I have lived, yeah, in that state of fear and depression for years. And I know, some people live their whole lives in that state, or they live, decades in that state. But you don't have to. You don't have to do that. So I guess I want to end this teaching saying that for emotional projectors, especially, we want to learn how to regulate our emotions and to take responsibility for our emotions. We want to start looking at our emotions as information and not dismissing it as our emotional wave. We are also going to be more mindful of our thoughts. What can happen when we slip from this upward spiral into a downward spiral is we don't realize that we're starting to think about maybe more of our problems or about something going wrong. We're directing our focus onto a different layer of reality. We're focusing on something we're seeing that we don't like. And we're pouring more energy and attention and focus into that. And that's actually what slips us into that downward spiral. But if you catch that early, when you have awareness of that early, you can actually get back into that neutral feeling state. I also want to emphasize like it's not about feeling like blissed out and on cloud nine all the time. Like there's always going to be shit that happens. There's always going to be, moments where you are going to go down a little bit. But I want you to really be honest with yourself. If you are spending the majority of your time in those very like lower frequencies and those very like dense emotions, I want you to be honest with yourself that if you're spending most of your time down there, that maybe it's time to start making some shifts, to start dialing in to a new radio station, to start searching for relief. And I guess maybe this is the last thing I will say. Wait, don't leave me. It was literally just here. Oh my God, it left me. Um, the perils of being a quad right. Let's see if it comes back. Dialing into radio frequencies. Um, no, I think it's totally left the building. So so yeah, it's totally gone. But upward spiral, feeling good, downward spiral, feeling bad. Emotions and neutral energy. Take responsibility for your emotions. There are going to be natural ups and downs, but okay, maybe this is where I was getting at. When you're spending the majority of your time in that space, in that downward spiral, then, you know, Be honest with yourself. Start to search for relief. Start to search for better feeling thoughts. Okay, this is the point. It's come back. I think the most important thing to remember if you are in a state of depression or at the very bottom of a downward spiral is to start telling yourself and like actually believing that things can get better. I think what kept me in that state for so long is that I genuinely did not believe that things would ever change or ever get better. And I want to encourage you, empower you, remind you that things will change. You're not going to be in that state forever. You will bring yourself out of it. It might take time, but your life will change. It might not all change by tomorrow, but things can change rapidly within the next few months, the next year, the next several years. You will move out of that state. It's not forever. And I think even just that mental shift is enough to bring relief and is enough to start allowing you to move back up that scale again. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to leave this recording here. Thanks for watching.